Okay, so this video goes on with understanding interpersonal relationships from our text, which is chapter 10, and there's PowerPoint presentations and lesson reviews. I just did a video that will be posted about relationships, interpersonal relationships defined, and the four, they're not theories, but the four attributions of interpersonal relationship. So now what I want to talk about is the genesis of interpersonal relationships. Well, before I actually talk about that, I'm going to talk about circumstance or choice relationships. Relationships of circumstance. The book definition is interpersonal relationships that exist because of life circumstances, who your family members are, where you work, who you study with, and so forth. Okay, so relationships of circumstance, think of these as family members. Siblings, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, you're in a relationship with them because you were born into them or raised by them. Whatever the case may be, think of family members. And some can evolve into great friendships with siblings or cousins, whatnot. I have an older brother. When we were younger, we fought, but now we have a pretty good friendship, hang out and stuff. When we can. We both have children, young ones. So that's there's also work. Circumstantial relationships is also work relationships because these are people that you work with. You start off as acquaintances and you can evolve into friendships. This could also be peers that you were in class with, that you are in class with, that you had class with before, or graduated with, you went to school with. Those are all circumstances. And underneath that also kind of falls if you're involved in certain groups, or if you were involved in groups and clubs in school, or sports teams like basketball or baseball or cheerleading and stuff like that, you become friends because you all are on a team together. You're with each other, so that creates that bond, that intimacy, that relationship. So the next one, circumstance is pretty much what you are raised around and what you're into because of circumstances. That could be school, that could be work, that could be family. Okay. Relationships of choice, the book definition tells us, interpersonal relationship you choose to initiate, maintain, and perhaps terminate. So this is all you're choosing. This is, and friends fall under this, and intimate relationships fall under this. So you choose. You choose to do the initiation, to get to know someone, to begin a relationship, and it's your choice to maintain, and it's your choice to terminate or not. So again, like I said, this is friendships, and which you can terminate some family. You can terminate all realms of interpersonal communication, but interpersonal relationships, excuse me. But it's under this one is where we make the choices to begin, maintain, and then terminate. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about the genesis of interpersonal relationships. So there's interpersonal attraction is what it starts off with. And this is where you form and maintain your interpersonal relationships. So there's short-term initial attraction. Book definition tells us it's the degree to which you sense a potential for developing an interpersonal relationship. So maybe you see someone in class, or maybe you're out getting lunch, or, your paths may cross with someone and you have that, oh, I would like to get to know them better. Again, this can be intimate or a friendship relationship here. Oh, they're really cool, or they're into this, they seem to be into the same thing as I'm into. So this sparks the initial, hey, I want to get to know them. That initial attraction, what falls under that too, is we have proximity. Proximity is how close you are to someone. This could be because you're in the same group. This is because you could be working together. This is because you could be in the same class. You could be in the same club. You could be in the same project or assignment or group. Whatever the case may be, proximity under initial attraction falls because of how close you are in someone physically. Like, if you work with them, you may see them every day. If you are in a group project with them, you may see them after class or after school or what, maybe, or maybe you're in the same club then that you met someone, or, this is just our physical closeness to someone when we talk about proximity. There's also physical attraction. This falls more under your intimate relationships, I must get to know them better. Physical attraction falls under this in the sources of initial attraction, and all this comes under short-term initial attraction. So you have the closeness, the physical closeness of someone, and then also their physical appearance to you may intrigue you to get to. And I say intimate, but you can use physical attraction to, man, they have really cool clothes. I really would love to get to know them more, or they seem really cool. I like to get to know them better. So we move away from that, and then let's talk about long-term. This is the degree of liking or positive feelings that motivate us to maintain or escalate a relationship. So you have your initial, I must get to know them. I must introduce myself. I must know more. So you have your initial short-term attraction. The long-term attraction is where we decide if we are going to maintain where we are or if we're going to escalate the relationship. So think of this. We're acquaintances. We're getting to know one another. This is where we determine, hey, I think we should do more together. So think of friendships and intimate relationships where you're escalating up and you're like, okay, let's spend some more time together, really getting to know each other. So if it's intimate wise, it could be, let's go on more dates. Let's hang out more. And friendship wise, same way. Let's get to hang out more. Let's see if our interest, if we can keep this ball rolling. This is where we determine if we're going to maintain a relationship. Within this, it's just you're constantly assessing and thinking of the next step. Do you like what's happened so far? Are you down with it? Are you cool with it? Is it vibing with you? If so, let's build it up. Let's escalate it. Let's move on to the next step in any relationship. Then there's the POV, which is a predicted outcome value theory. This theory states, from the book, people predict the value of a relationship based on initial self-assessment compared to the potential cost and rewards of the relationships. So they're taking their initial step, like, I think we could be great friends. Just, we're in several groups together. We have several classes together. You seem really cool. We could be great friends. Or, oh man, I really think we could have a wonderful relationship based off those initial parts. Without thinking, oh gosh, what if this doesn't work? What if we don't get along? That's all we're talking about here. So, we've talked about the shortness. This is where we decide whether or not we're going to begin a relationship. And things that can fall underneath this is proximity and attraction. Then we have the long term, which is where we decide whether or not we're going to maintain and elevate the relationship that we are currently in. The POV theory is that we I don't want to say throw disregard, but despite what the rewards and consequences may be, we still choose to initiate. Even though our hearts may be broken and it may be a terrible idea, we are still going into it head first into this relationship. Within both the short term and the long term, the book talks about this competent. This is the quality of being skilled, intelligent, charismatic, and credible. These are all things that fall under the attraction. The charismatic. Are they competent? Are they, can I have a conversation with them? Can I do this or do that? This is kind of going past the physical attractiveness and the proximity of it. We're hitting more deep. And then there's self-disclosure. When we get into the long term, once we pass the short term, we talked about this in the last video, self-disclosure is just where we give information about ourselves. You go from the, hey, how are you? My name is, I'm this, this is what I do. This is what I like, to more in-depth information. This is what I choose to do. This is what I want to be. Or you tell secrets or stories. You just keep disclosing more personal information about yourself as the relationship continues to grow and evolve. And then there's the reciprocation of liking, which the book, straightforward, is liking those who like us. I enjoy this person, and do they enjoy me back, or vice versa? Oh gosh, they seem really into me. You know what? I seem really into them too. This is not just intimate relationships. This is also friendships, because you can't be friends with someone who doesn't want to be friends with you. Then they talk about similarities. Similarities is having comparable personalities, values, upbringing, personal experience, attitudes, and interests. This happens a lot during the long term while we are making our choices to maintain and evolve interpersonal relationships. Oh gosh, they have the same values as me, or they enjoy the same things as me, or we really get along here because of this. These are things that add to the choices that we make to maintain and evolve relationships, or even terminate relationships. Gosh, we just don't see eye to eye. I think of the world as A, and they think of the world as B, and it's kind of like oil and water, and I just don't see it working. So that's what we're talking about here. This little clip it. Close my book so I can easily chat this section of more. So there's short and long term. Within short, this is where the initial bing, oh gosh, I'm interested, and under proximity and attraction falls under this, to wanting to get to know someone, to wanting to introduce yourself, to wanting to begin those first steps of the interpersonal relationship. Long term is where we kind of determine whether or not we're going to maintain our relationships, or if we're going to evolve them or dissolve them. Under this, so many things come into play. The self-disclosure, giving information about ourselves, reciprocating the level of intimacy or the level of attraction to one another is shown. This is also, so we talked about self-disclosure. That also, underneath that is where you find out shared perceptions and interest and beliefs and upbringing and worldviews and life views, whatever the case may be. This is underneath all that falls under long. So those are just a few things about the genesis of interpersonal relationships. So thank you guys for listening. I hope you have a wonderful week. And if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to contact me. You can email me, text me, you can try to call. I won't guarantee that my children may or may not answer. So I hope you all have a wonderful time. Thank you everyone so much for listening. Thanks. Bye.